So I was scrambling for a new topic for this kind of car talking thing that I'm trying to do. And given the previous episode was comic book related, why not this one too? And while we're at it, why not make it about the X-Men? Now, my introduction to X-Men, like most older millennials, was the aesthetics of the 90s TV show and the arcade game. This was shortly before the movies came out. Now, I remember the first movie coming out, and I watched it on TV and wasn't really interested in it. Then I watched the second movie in theaters. I thought it was decent. Even then, I realized it was missing a lot of things that made the X-Men special. I enjoy a lot of these movies. First Class, Days of Future Past, the Deadpool and Logan movies, which were some of the best stuff that they did, and if you're counting alternate universes, Rocky Horror Picture Show. But while they're great, there are a lot of untapped potential with the comic book source material that Fox decided to just streamline for no apparent reason, apart from the fact that this film franchise started back when there was no superhero genre to even compare it to. While DC and Marvel were willing to take a little bit more risks over the years, we kept watching all these X-Men movies thinking, when and where are we going to get one of these that capture the look and feel of the comics over the years? And nowhere was this any more disappointing than the times they tried to adapt the Dark Phoenix saga. X-Men: The Last Stand is the first time we get this. Dark Phoenix has emerged, Professor X is dead, and now she's siding with Magneto. The problem with that is you're about 3 movies in and you only dropped little hints that Jean Grey was going to tap into it back in X2. And even when we knew we were going to get it, she still is in the side character role that you made her in the first 2 movies. Then again, it also might be due to the fact that the movie wasn't that great anyway. The story was interesting, but wasted. The action sequences were probably the best in the movie, but, they did nothing. And come to think of it, there were a lot of characters that were gone, poorly executed, and put there just to add space. And I know Wolverine was set up to be the main character, but the fact that he has to be the one to stop the Phoenix by killing Jean is a kick to the face. So yeah, this movie just kind of failed on all marks, and I guess the misuse of the Dark Phoenix saga was just a circumstance of that. But to really understand why, we have to go back to the comics. Now, the Dark Phoenix saga in the comics worked because there were 3 main reasons, all having a cause and effect on each other. First, this is coming after 15 to 20 years of the Uncanny X-Men. By this time, we're already familiar with the characters. We're being offered new perspectives of them, while also giving them room to grow and develop their narratives. Which brings us to the second point, the significance of Jean Grey. By the start of the comic book run, she was only one of 5 mutants in the team. But as the team expanded and new and more interesting characters were introduced, let's face it, now the series had to recontextualize with the original members alongside them. This leads us to the third reason. The X-Men were becoming a league of their own. I mean, going back as far as the 60s where they were facing larger scale threats such as the Sentinels. But the Phoenix saga comes after this arduous battle with aliens. Yes, aliens. But this new cosmic environment allowed writer Chris Claremont to reintroduce Jean Grey as an Omega-level force of nature, effectively rechristening her and making her an important key figure in the X-Men once again. So much so that they made her a villain because she was too domineering. But in a way, it worked, not only because of the time it took to get there, but what they did with the actual event itself. They were able to introduce new ideas, which also aided in the narrative of the rise and fall of Phoenix. Now, these ideas have been covered well by content creators before, links down below, but there is a reason why this is one of the more popular events in X-Men lore, and why it could never be done justice cinematically. This isn't just a suppressed alter ego for Jean. This is her absorbing new cosmic forces, enhancing her abilities, and ultimately being too powerful to control. Also, because the limits in the comics were nothing compared to the movies, they were allowed to have their pages literally evolve, and it was never supposed to be a one-time deal, like the time they tried to adapt it into one singular movie. You may think it's virtually impossible to replicate an event as epic as this on any screen, but that's when the Umbrella Academy jumps in. I think it's safe to say that the Umbrella Academy is the best depiction of X-Men without it being X-Men, you know what I mean? It's on Netflix and it has the same realistic vibe as the X-Men movies, but it takes all the risks that you wish that they did. Oh, did I mention that the original comics were written by Gerard Way? Anyway, what made me like this was the ensemble dynamic. And the thing about that is you have the flashbacks, which are kind of tinted to make it feel old-fashioned. Characters are still kid superheroes, they're under the same roof fighting for the same goal. Contrast to the present-day scenes, they have their own goals, they have their own individual perspectives on the whole ordeal, and they just can't stand each other. Now, I'm going to try to talk about how they do the Dark Phoenix well without spoiling what happens, but the way they did it was how I felt the X-Men movies were trying to do them. And I know it's kind of unfair to argue how different mediums interpreted the same event, but I'll argue that the X-Men movies had all the budget to be as character-driven as the Umbrella Academy was, because the series subtly hinted at the event better, but it also took extra time to build up to it. And because of the advantage that they had in character beats, they were also able to add their own twists and turns to the formula. So when they had this big Dark Phoenix event, viewers were kind of like, oh, now I get it. Speaking of which, I love that the twists came from the choices that the characters made. It felt like the character was kind of playing a video game, and I love that unique little take on it. As I'm releasing this video, I haven't seen Season 2 yet, but I recommend Umbrella Academy to anyone who wants to see a more modern, fleshed out version of X-Men. One that doesn't feel chained to any stereotypical action tropes. Yeah, hopefully I can do more of these little mini TED Talks in the car. I do have an idea in the pipeline, and hopefully I can get to you sooner or later. Thanks for watching.